NMH at 1 brings you the latest news, both local and international, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Here are the news headlines.
Sail drone found in Namibia's territorial waters near Lüderitz, controlled from the USA. Meatco is not in intensive care, says CEO Mwilima Mushokabanji. Now protesting pupils flip over a police car in South Africa. I am Glenn Rashipura and this is Aina Kweyo. In today's midday news update, Africa's public health agency says countries with deadly cholera outbreaks on the continent have no immediate access to vaccines amid a global supply shortage. The acting director of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Ahmed Okwel, told journalists yesterday that the agency is working with the World Health Organization and the Vaccine Alliance Gavi on ways to obtain more doses. Now, the Africa CDC is also working with 2 local manufacturers to explore if their facilities can be repurposed to manufacture cholera vaccines.
Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. The visual news coming up after the break.
Active Kids is an initiative under the MyZone brand that aims to provide exciting and easy activities and fun stories. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na. Active Kids, where we actively invest in your future.
In our visual news, following media attention lately, Namibia's meat processing parastatal Meatco held a press conference this morning. Meatco CEO Mwilima Mushokabanji said the entity is not in debt, nor is it in intensive care as reported. Ohone Tlage attended the event. Let's have a look.
As a commercial public enterprise, in that particular year, we had too many cattle to slaughter. We slaughtered 116,000 cattle. And our revenue was basically 1.7 billion. Now, what I want to bring to your attention was the supply was higher than demand, meaning there was too much cattle to slaughter, but of poor quality, such that farmers were fighting to queue for us to slaughter at the abattoir. Now, the dilemma in the decision making was, just because supply is high, should we reduce the price for the farmers? That was going to create a crisis in the industry. Our strategic intent was to make sure that regardless of the drought, we need to make sure that primary production survives, because long term, that's what will make Namibia's industry competitive, sustainable and profitable. We needed to provide strategic foresight into the future. So 2019-2020, the national head, according to the Directorate of Veterinary Services, before 2019-2020 was at 2.5 million. Now, we lost 50% of the national head between 2019 and 2020. Now, when we lost 50% of the national head, what that means from an agriculture point of view is that when you have a drought this year, it will basically affect you in the coming 5 to 6 years. That is why you would see that in order to operate Meatco competitively and profitably, to break even, you at least need 60 to 65,000 cattle. Citrus paribus, everything else remaining the same.
The Cancer Association of Namibia is hosting a national cancer outreach program ahead of World Cancer Day on Saturday under the theme Bridging the Gap. The CEO of the Cancer Association, Riolf Hansen, said the program is aimed at bringing hope and encouraging screenings among communities. He spoke to Sheldon Johannes.
I'm Rolf Hansen, CEO of the Cancer Association of Namibia, and CAN is visiting the Erongo region this week, where the National Cancer Outreach Program is touring. We're in Walvis Bay today, and on Friday we're in Swakopmund. And obviously on Saturday the most important part is World Cancer Day. And the theme is closing the care gap, and this is what we're trying to do, bring hope and screening and a difference to our communities in the regions. The National Cancer Outreach Program travels all regions of the country throughout the year, but we found it very befitting to have the World Cancer Day celebrations in the Erongo region, where we have our secondary branch. It's our second largest branch in the country, and we really see that there's a great need in the Erongo region. Cancer is on the increase in our country, and especially in the Erongo region, we see a sharp incline. We invite all the coastal people to join us on Saturday morning from 9 to 11 at the park along the beach at the mall in Swakopmund, where we're going to have a yoga, a stretching exercise session for our community. And this is a holistic approach that we're taking to go for the healthier lifestyle option, because we can all do with a bit of exercise now and then. And then thereafter, from 11 until 1, we invite everyone who would like to become a volunteer of the Cancer Association to work in their community, who wants to be a shoulder, perhaps to cry on, perhaps someone who just wants to help with fundraising. The Cancer Association truly needs you. We invite you for a volunteer training session that is 11 until 1 in Swakopmund, but please contact our office here in Swakopmund, 461271, and get the information and be part of this training.
The Namibian military yesterday confirmed that a sail drone found in the country's territorial waters near Lüderitz was controlled from the United States of America. This story leads us into the newspaper review segment after the break.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact agenda@synergy.com.na. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Let's get into our newspaper review. The Namibian military yesterday confirmed that a sail drone found in the country's territorial waters near Lüderitz was controlled from the United States of America, but the exact identity of the owner has not been established. A Namibian tour operator based at the southern coastal town, who was allegedly hired by the American controller of the drone to bring the device ashore for repairs, had been called in for questioning by the military. As if that wasn't enough drama, 2 South African men, one with Namibian citizenship, were pulled out of their hotel this week after it emerged they were sent by the American controller to repair the drone in Namibia. The 2 men entered the country as tourists, military sources told the Namibian Sun. Now on to page 3, the University of Namibia has seemingly been slow to respond to students who complained that modules that were paid for were not offered at its summer school, which concluded on 21st January. Now, according to an email between an aggrieved student and the university's senior lecturer for the Faculty of Law, Toipa Warikandwa, the fault lies with management. Kindly direct your query to the head of the department. As far as I know, a specific party had been identified to offer mining law during summer school. That it has not been offered is therefore not an issue that I can address, but for management to respond to. Now, Warikunduka said.
Moving on to our next story, according to the Republican, the country's meat processing parastatal Meatco has informed its workers that the slaughtering of cattle will be stopped until mid-February, the Namibian Sun has learned. The stoppage comes amid talks of farmers refusing to sell their cattle to Meatco due to the low prices the meat agency allegedly pays, as well as allegations that the entity does not have sufficient financial resources to buy stock. Farmers have since resorted to selling their cattle privately among themselves and at private auctions. Acting Namibia National Farmers Union President Amon Kapi yesterday said currently the informal domestic meat market is more attractive to farmers south of the red line than in the formal market. On page 3, the paper reports that an international service to order carpooling opportunities online has been launched in Windhoek, making Namibia the 11th African country where the service is available. This service, called Iago, is already used in numerous countries across Europe, Central Asia, Middle East and Africa, including Ivory Coast, Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, Zambia, Angola, Congo, Brazzaville, Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique and Algeria.
According to the German daily newspaper Allgemeine Zeitung, if everything works as planned, the construction work for the new Savannah beef processing plant could commence already in May this year, and the plant could already be put in operation next November or December. This comes from the recent communication last Tuesday from the task force of the Forum for the Beef Value Chain. On page 2, the paper reports that after missing 2 weeks of school due to lack of space at schools, over 600 learners yesterday secured placement at Runtu Project Secondary School, where teaching and learning will take place.
Now, we'll be right back shortly after the commercial break with more newspaper review.
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact agm@synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
The Namibia newspaper reports that a close corporation which employs only one person and is owned by former Trans-Namib Chief Executive Sarah Katiti's daughter scooped health tenders worth 141 million Namibian dollars last month to supply medical products to the health ministry. The close corporation Talinge Investment CC of Helena Figura, who is Katiti's daughter, is the second biggest beneficiary from the controversial medical tenders worth 2.8 billion Namibian dollars awarded by the Central Procurement Board of Namibia last month. On its page 3, the paper reports that pensioners receiving regular payments from the government institution pension fund increased to 46,931 last year. According to GIPF Integrated Annual Report of 2021 and 2022, new pensioners receiving payments have increased by 1,434 from 45,497 in 2021. The increase saw GIPF paying out 5.5 billion Namibian dollars in benefits to members, up from 5.2 billion Namibian dollars in 2021, an increase of 7.5%, while pension contributions from contributing employers rose 1.2% to 4.5 billion Namibian dollars.
Now, according to New Era, the Namibia Defense Force yesterday confirmed they confiscated a sophisticated sailing drone believed to have been active at the coast in the vicinity of the Lüderitz for half a year. According to the paper's page 4, a Namibian man who claims to be in the the inventor of MTC's multiple aware concept, is dragging the telecommunications giant to the High Court for copyright infringement. William Ayman, who hails from Keetmanshoop, claims he first introduced the concept to MTC in 2017 when he addressed a letter to them introducing his concept. MTC has now indicated they intend to fight Ayman in court, and they have proved that their staff have already worked on the concept years before Ayman contacted them.
Now, in our next story, according to Market Watch, Namibia's exports earning average 8 billion Namibian dollars in 2022, while import averaged 10.7 billion Namibian dollars, leading to an average trade deficit of 2.7 billion Namibian dollars, according to the Namibia Statistic Agency. In December 2022, Namibia's exports stood at 8.7 billion Namibian dollars and imports at 9.8 billion Namibian dollars, resulting in the country's trade deficit of 1.1 billion Namibian dollars.
A decline in overall business registrations by 7.3% has been observed compared to the 2021 calendar year. This story coming up in Economic News.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Let's get into our economic news. The Business and Intellectual Property Authority has observed a decline in overall business registration by 7.3% compared to the 2021 calendar year. According to the Registrar of Business and Intellectual Property, Vivian Kautongwa, BIPA recorded a total of 12,666 registration on its business register for the period January to December 2022. From the total number registration, 11,130 comprised of closed corporations, 1,153 for companies, 318 registrations were for Section 21 companies, 49 were defensive names, and 16 were foreign companies. This number shows a decline by 7.3% from the same period during 2021, when the authority recorded a total of 13,594 registrations. A total of 5 companies were recorded under liquidation during the same period.
Let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has observed an uptick of 0.1% against the euro and British pound, while a decline in local currency by the same margin is observed against the US dollar. Most stock prices remain unchanged on the Namibia Stock Exchange. SBN Holding stock prices now trade at 5 Namibian dollars and 11 cents after a 0.2% drop in price. Gold and copper prices have dropped, while zinc and Brent crude oil prices have climbed.
Learners in South Africa's Free State province were filmed flipping a police car on Thursday after going on the rampage over the alleged death of their schoolmate. This story and more news from the African continent after the break here on NMH at 1.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact b7@synergy.com.na.
Getting into our news from the continent, pupils in South Africa's Free State province were filmed flipping a police car on Thursday after going on a rampage over the alleged death of their schoolmate. The child is alleged to have taken their life after being bullied by a teacher, the Times LifeSat reports, quoting a local police spokesperson. It is reported that the child left a suicide note to say what caused the death, and then the learners at the school picketed and it became violent. Warrant Officer Peter Mabizela is quoted as saying, "Now pupils from surrounding schools converged at the Tlodisong Secondary School, where they held 2 police officers and teachers hostage inside the school." Mr. Mabizela added, the pupils turned a police vehicle on its side amid cheers. It took additional police units to disperse them from the school. Now 5 minors were arrested for public violence and will appear in court soon, police said.
Moving on to our next story, Zimbabwean non-governmental organizations fear that the government could close them down after the Senate on Wednesday passed a bill that gives the government greater control over their operations. The private voluntary organization amendment bill was initially crafted to combat international money laundering, according to the Ministry of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. It was expanded to regulate operations of NGOs and how they are funded. The Zimbabwean government has often accused Western governments of using NGOs to destabilize the country to benefit the opposition. NGOs have increased in number in Zimbabwe to provide services to communities struggling with the economic crisis. The National Association of Non-Governmental Organizations, an umbrella body with close to 800 active members, believe that some of the bill's closure are repressive and will limit work in vulnerable communities. After the break, we take a look at our international news. Stay with us.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and oneup2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Getting into our international news, a U.S. appeals court yesterday declared unconstitutional a federal law making it a crime for people under domestic violence restraining orders to own firearms. The decision by a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal is the latest victory for gun rights advocates since a Supreme Court ruling last June granting a broad right for people to carry firearms outside the home. Now that ruling, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin announced a new test for assessing firearm laws, saying restrictions must be consistent with this nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation and not simply advance an important government interest. In Thursday's decision, Circuit Judge Corey Wilson said banning people under domestic violent restraining orders from owning firearms embodies salutary police goals meant to protect vulnerable people in our society.
After the break, we return with local sports. Stay with us.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Let's take a look at our local sports news. The MTC Namibian national men's and women's indoor hockey teams will launch their assault at the International Hockey Federation's 6th Indoor World Cup on Sunday at the Hartford Arena in Pretoria in Group A and B respectively. The Namibian women are also supported by Namibia, Namibre and Standard Bank. Namibia, 17th on the FIH World Rankings, will compete in Group A against Austria, which is at number 1, Belgium in 8th position, Kazakhstan 14, the Netherlands 16, and New Zealand not ranked.
Volleyball lovers will have a chance to be in action as teams from different organizations gear up for the battle at the DST Sports Field in this year's edition of Windhoek Draft Volleyball for All competition. The one-day volleyball tournament will take place at the DTS Sports Field with a total of 228 teams expected to compete.
Leg 2 on the cards last weekend saw the University of Namibia Athletics Club scooping the overall first place at the first leg at the Athletics Namibia Grand Prix held in Swakopmund. The club collected 178 points in the combined team scores. Athletics Development Club and Namibian Correctional Service took second and third place respectively.
We take a look at international sports.
After hoisting his first World Cup trophy with Argentina in December, Lionel Messi said that tournament would be his last, but now it appears he's open to the possibility of playing in the 2026 event. Because of age, it will be difficult to make 2026, Messi 35 told Diario Ole, a sports newspaper in Argentina. I love playing football, and while I feel like I'm in good shape and enjoying this, I'm going to keep at it. It seems like a long time until the next World Cup, but it depends on how my career is going. Argentina coach Lionel Scaloni would love to see the superstar, who is one of the only 6 players to compete in 5 World Cups, suit up for the next World Cup, which will be held in the United States, Canada and Mexico. Now, after scoring 7 goals in the 2022 World Cup, Messi would become the World Cup's all-time leading scorer if he suits up in 2026.
A common assault charge against Nick Kyrgios related to the 2021 incident involving his former girlfriend Chaira Passari was dismissed in the Canberra court earlier today, despite the tennis player earlier pleading guilty. Magistrate Beth Campbell has dismissed the case due to the minor nature of the incident and that Nick was at low risk of re-offending, the Sydney Morning Herald reported.
If you are just joining us, this is NMH at 1 and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast shortly. But first, here's the Weekend Gig Guide.
Hello NMH at 1 viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde. I'm back on your TV screens to give you guys a lowdown of some of the events you can expect this weekend. To start with, you can catch that is Chill Sessions tonight on Namibian Sun's Facebook page at 1900 hours. That's the show where I get to take you in and around the country, showcasing you the latest music videos trending for the week. You can also catch a repeat of that show that is on NTV tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning. Moving along with other events you can catch this weekend, you can catch that as the Bottomless Coffee Band Tour happening today at Swakopmund Hotel and Entertainment Center. Tickets are $250 and you can get to watch them perform live. It's live music, so make sure if you are in Swakopmund, you make a turn at Swakopmund Hotel and Entertainment Center for the Bottomless Coffee Band Tour. And another event you can catch this weekend is the last edition of that is the Drea Summer, taking place tomorrow at the Catch. Gates open at 4 o'clock and the tickets are $100 for you to get in. It's the last edition of a 3-weekend series that took place at the Catch, and tomorrow is the last edition of that series. With that, we have come to the end of today's segment of the Weekend Gig Guide. I'll be back again, same time, same place next week. Until then, it's bye-bye.
Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in same time, same place next week. I am Glenn Oshipora, joined by Aina Raisa-Koyo.